Imagine stepping through the doors of a single, gleaming building nestled in the vibrant heart of Munich, a city where centuries of tradition collide with the pulse of next-generation innovation. This is not just any building. This is the Wacker Biotechnology Center, a structure that is quietly becoming one of the most important crossroads for the future of medicine, nutrition, and even the way we understand human longevity itself. The very air inside crackles with anticipation. It is here that researchers, engineers, and visionaries are locked in a worldwide contest. Not just against competing corporations scattered across continents, but against time itself. They are racing to outmaneuver disease, to end hunger, and to extend the healthy years of human life. The work happening here is not about incremental change. It is about igniting revolutions that could fundamentally redraw the map of what is possible for human health and well-being. To fully grasp the magnitude of what is unfolding at the Wacker Biotechnology Center, we must step back and trace the arc of biotechnology from its earliest days to the present. Over 100 years ago, biotechnology began with the simplest of tools: vats of bubbling yeast fermenting bread and beer, a handful of scientists tinkering with the invisible forces of life. In those formative decades, breakthroughs like penicillin and the earliest vaccines were considered marvels bordering on magic. The very notion that humans could harness microbes to heal and nourish us seemed outlandish. Yet, with the advent of the 1970s, a true paradigm shift occurred. The birth of recombinant DNA technology enabled researchers to cut and paste genes from one species into another. Suddenly, bacteria could be transformed into tiny pharmaceutical factories, churning out life-saving insulin, growth hormones, and a growing arsenal of therapies. This was the moment when biotechnology transitioned from a laboratory curiosity to a bedrock of global medicine and industry. The decades that followed saw an explosion of innovation. Advances in cell culture allowed researchers to grow increasingly complex molecules. The introduction of single-use bioprocessing platforms revolutionized manufacturing. No longer were companies shackled by the limitations of traditional, rigid equipment. Today, the bioprocessing sector is experiencing breathtaking growth. Industry analysts forecast that, by the year 2034, the United States biopharmaceutical market alone could surpass $600 billion, with annual growth rates climbing above 14%. This surge is propelled by the insatiable demand for biologics, sophisticated, protein-based medicines that are transforming the fight against cancer, autoimmune diseases, rare genetic disorders, and even newly emerging infections. But this is not just an American story. Europe, and Germany in particular, is determined to remain a driving force in biotechnology. German firms are pouring billions of euros into research, infrastructure, and talent development to ensure that Europe does not just follow, but leads. Enter Wacker Chemie, a company whose roots in Munich stretch back more than 100 years, to the era when chemical innovation was still in its infancy. For generations, Wacker has been synonymous with scientific progress, from the early days of materials science to the biotechnology frontier that it began exploring in the 1980s. The opening of the Wacker Biotechnology Center marks the latest and perhaps boldest chapter in this ongoing saga. The center itself is a marvel of modern design, spread over 4 expansive floors. Within its walls are more than 1,500 square meters of state-of-the-art laboratories, complemented by 700 square meters of meticulously planned offices, meeting rooms, and technical competence centers. By gathering all of Wacker's biotechnological expertise under one roof, the company is betting on a powerful formula: that proximity breeds collaboration, that shared vision accelerates discovery, and that, together, they can dramatically shorten the time it takes to transform scientific insights into real-world solutions for patients and consumers. At the very heart of this effort is Wacker's commitment to developing next-generation methods for producing proteins and nucleic acids. These molecules are the foundational code of life, and mastering their production is essential to advancing everything from breakthrough medicines to sustainable food systems. Consider messenger RNA, better known as mRNA. Once a niche topic, mRNA vaulted into the global consciousness during the COVID-19 pandemic, enabling the rapid creation of vaccines that save millions of lives. Today, the potential of mRNA is being unleashed on a wide range of challenges, from personalized cancer vaccines to treatments for cystic fibrosis and rare metabolic diseases that, until recently, were a life sentence for those afflicted. Wacker's ambitions, however, extend far beyond human pharmaceuticals. The entire planet faces a mounting crisis in food security and nutrition, with the global population projected to approach 10 billion by mid-century, and climate change squeezing the world's arable land. The pressure to feed billions sustainably is higher than ever before. Wacker's teams are using biotechnology to engineer novel proteins, nutrients, and sustainable food ingredients. Imagine plant-based meats that are indistinguishable from their animal counterparts, or custom-designed dietary supplements that address the unique genetic needs of different populations. These innovations could one day nourish millions, and do so while dramatically reducing agriculture's environmental footprint. But let's not sugarcoat the challenges. The modern biotech industry has been described as a gold rush, but one where the stakes are measured not just in fortunes, but in lives. Across the globe, companies large and small are locked in a relentless race to find safer, faster, and more scalable methods for producing new medicines and food ingredients. The risks are enormous. One miscalculation, a failed clinical trial, a regulatory setback, a supply chain disruption, can cost not just millions of euros or dollars, but years in the lives of patients waiting for solutions. This is a sector where collaboration is as crucial as competition. Bill Swaney, a leader at Expression Manufacturing, captures the spirit of the times. Partnering with Wacker allows us to combine their unmatched plasmid manufacturing capabilities with our LENT-ET technology, creating a cycle that could revolutionize gene therapy manufacturing. These partnerships are not just strategic, they are essential. In today's biotech landscape, no company can afford to go it alone. By combining unique strengths, whether in advanced manufacturing, genetic engineering, or regulatory navigation, firms can bring new solutions to market with unprecedented speed and safety. Yet, speed is a double-edged sword. Every scientific breakthrough triggers a cascade of regulatory hurdles. National authorities and international agencies demand comprehensive proof that every new therapy is both effective and safe. The journey from laboratory discovery to regulatory approval can stretch across a decade, with costs often soaring into the hundreds of millions of euros. A single oversight in quality assurance or documentation can set a project back by months or even years, costing money, credibility, and sometimes lives. Christian Hartel, Wacker's CEO, is refreshingly candid about this balancing act. It's no longer enough to have the best solution. Speed is taking on an ever greater role in making us stand out. In today's hyper-competitive ecosystem, being first to market can determine whether a company becomes a global leader or fades into obscurity. Yet moving too quickly carries its own perils. The challenge is to innovate rapidly, but with the meticulous attention to detail that regulators and healthcare providers demand. Scale presents another formidable obstacle. It is one thing to demonstrate a scientific breakthrough in the controlled confines of a laboratory, but quite another to manufacture that discovery affordably, reliably, and at the scale required to reach millions or even billions around the world. This is where the true test lies for Wacker's new center. Can it turn cutting-edge research into products that are accessible and affordable, not just for the privileged few in wealthy nations, but for people everywhere? Let's talk numbers. Manufacturing costs for advanced biologics and gene therapies remain stubbornly high, largely due to the complexity of the biological systems involved. Unlike the small molecule drugs of the 20th century, which could be produced by the ton in chemical factories, today's biopharmaceuticals often require living cells, sterile environments, and constant monitoring for even the slightest deviations in temperature, pH, or nutrition. A single misstep can mean scrapping an entire batch, translating into wasted resources, delays, and ballooning costs. The regulatory environment adds another layer of complexity. Companies must navigate an ever-shifting maze of national and international laws governing everything from intellectual property rights to environmental impact. For global players like Wacker, this means deploying teams of legal and compliance experts to keep pace with changing regulations across Europe, North America, Asia, and beyond. The cost of non-compliance can be devastating, not just in financial penalties, but in lost time, market access, and reputation. Despite these daunting challenges, the opportunities are staggering. The world's population is aging at an unprecedented rate. According to United Nations projections, by the year 2050, there will be more people aged 60 and older than children under the age of 15 for the first time in human history. This seismic demographic shift is driving a surge in demand for treatments targeting age-related diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, various forms of cancer, to name just a few. The rising tide of chronic conditions, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, obesity, underscores the urgent need for new therapies and more sustainable approaches to nutrition. Wacker's investments in mRNA and gene therapy platforms are perfectly timed for this new era of personalized medicine. These technologies allow for the tailoring of treatments to the unique genetic makeup of each individual. Imagine a world where a child born with a rare genetic disorder can receive a therapy crafted specifically for their DNA, or a cancer patient whose tumor is sequenced in real time, with physicians able to formulate a targeted treatment based on the exact mutations present. These are not distant dreams. They are rapidly becoming reality, thanks in no small measure to the research and partnerships emerging from places like the Wacker Biotechnology Center. Collaboration is at the very heart of this revolution. Wacker's alliance with Expression Manufacturing, for instance, leverages the LENT-ET platform, an innovation that enhances gene therapy safety by using ultra-low homology viral vector backbones, thereby reducing the risk of unwanted genetic recombination. At the same time, partnerships with firms like RNAV8 Bio are helping to scale up the efficiency and reliability of mRNA production, opening the door to an entirely new generation of vaccines and therapeutic solutions. But innovation is about more than just laboratory breakthroughs. Success in biotechnology requires mastery of the business and policy landscape as well. Companies must build coalitions with investors, regulators, clinicians, and patient advocates. They must anticipate shifts in technology, respond nimbly to changing market demands, and remain adaptable in the face of setbacks. Let's widen our lens to the global economy. The bioprocessing market worldwide is projected to soar well beyond $600 billion by the year 2034, with sustained double-digit growth rates anticipated for at least the next decade. The appetite for biopharmaceuticals, biologics, and vaccines is being fueled by the twin engines of scientific progress and the increasing prevalence of chronic and age-related diseases. In response, companies are investing billions in upgrading facilities, ramping up production capacity, and refining their technological toolkits. One of the most transformative trends is the rise of continuous bioprocessing. Unlike traditional batch production, which stops and starts, continuous bioprocessing allows for uninterrupted manufacturing, improving efficiency, reducing costs, and ensuring more consistent product quality. Wacker's new center, with its modular laboratories and technical competence hubs, is uniquely positioned to ride this wave. By adopting advances such as expanded perfusion systems and modular platform technologies, Wacker aims to accelerate development timelines and keep its therapies within reach of the broadest possible population. From the standpoint of investors, the implications are profound. The collision of rapid market growth, technological disruption, and rising global need makes biotechnology one of the most attractive and potentially transformative industries of our era. Wacker, with its legacy of innovation and bold new investments in Munich, is poised to play a pivotal role in shaping this future. But what does all this mean for you, the viewer? Whether you are a patient hoping for a cure, a healthcare provider searching for better tools, an investor seeking growth, or simply a curious mind, the breakthroughs happening at centers like Wacker's are set to ripple through every facet of modern life. Tomorrow's medicines could be safer, more effective, and more widely available. Advances in sustainable nutrition could bring healthier, environmentally friendly foods to your table. The innovations emerging from these laboratories could one day help us live longer, healthier, and more fulfilling lives. For those with a passion for the future of food, Wacker's research into engineered proteins and nutrients is especially compelling. The next revolution in what and how we eat may be taking shape right now, in the laboratories of Munich, with profound implications for personal health and planetary sustainability. If you are an investor, take note. Industry experts anticipate that the sector will enjoy double-digit growth rates for years to come. Companies that can master both scientific innovation and regulatory navigation will not only reap financial rewards, but will also have the rare opportunity to make a lasting mark on humanity's future. It is also worth noting the broader societal impact. As we look to a future where precision medicine becomes routine and sustainable foods are the norm, the question of access looms large. Will these breakthroughs remain the preserve of the wealthy, or will they be democratized for all? Wacker's vision is clear. By investing in world-class facilities, fostering partnerships, and concentrating research efforts, the goal is to ensure that life-saving treatments and sustainable foods become a right, not a privilege. But the journey is far from over. The story of Wacker Chemie is, in many ways, a microcosm of the broader struggle facing the biotechnology industry. It is a story of risk-taking, relentless curiosity, and the pursuit of progress. tempered by the realities of economics, regulation, and the sheer unpredictability of scientific discovery. As new competitors emerge from Asia, North America, and even unexpected corners of the globe, the pace of innovation will only accelerate. The next decade will determine not just the fate of individual companies, but the direction of biotechnology as a whole. Wacker's commitment to operational excellence is embodied by leaders like Marcus Reindl, who have overseen the integration of cutting-edge automation, digital monitoring, and sustainable manufacturing practices. By reducing waste, optimizing resource use, and minimizing environmental impact, the company is setting a standard for responsible innovation that others will be compelled to follow. Looking ahead, the implications are breathtaking. The tools being developed at Wacker's center could one day enable us to cure diseases that have plagued humanity for millennia, to create foods that nourish without depleting our planet, and to extend healthy human life far beyond what our ancestors could ever have imagined. So, what does the future hold for Wacker Chemie and for all of us? The answer remains cautiously optimistic. By concentrating research, investing in top-tier infrastructure, and forging alliances with global leaders, Wacker is wagering on a future where medicine, nutrition, and health are reinvented for everyone, not just a select few. Their journey, whether it leads to spectacular successes or hard-learned lessons, will shape the course of biotechnology for decades to come. As a final reflection, consider that Wacker's roots in Munich stretch back more than a century, to a time when the very concept of DNA was unknown. The new Biotechnology Center is not just another facility. It is the culmination of a century-long tradition of curiosity, risk, and relentless pursuit of what comes next. The next time you hear about a breakthrough in gene therapy or a new, eco-friendly food ingredient, remember that somewhere, often behind the scenes and late into the night, teams of scientists are working to turn promise into reality. If you want to stay at the forefront of global biotech and technology, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join the conversation in the comments below. What breakthrough inspires you? Which disease, challenge, or question do you hope science will solve next? Your ideas could spark the very innovations that shape the future. Until next time, stay curious.